All right, we're super excited. By the way, this is our last class. Um,
Oh,
there's nobody else after you, Kelsey.
okay. That's quite sad.
Yeah, yeah. Kirsty didn't, she backed off. Obviously, they're moving house, and at least didn't feel sort of up to it. But yeah, it's our last class. Not to say that this is the last time we'll be in contact, and I'm here to support you guys. But anyway, let me not carry on too long. You over to you. We're really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be great. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. So I just want to get ready for all the information that I'm going to give you. So I just want to start off just with a quick grounding and breathing exercise, just so that we can just be present together. Okay, so if you can just get comfortable, put your feet firmly on the ground, and you can either focus on a spot in front of you or you can close your eyes. Okay. All right, let's start with a nice deep breath in through the nose and a slow breath out through your nostrils. Another deep breath in through the nose and a slow breath out the nostrils. Try and focus on the little tickle that you might get from the air flowing out of your nose. Let's do one more in and a slow breath out. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Okay. All right. I also just want to play a quick game with you. So I'm not going to explain too much about the game. It's an easy game, but I'm not going to tell you why we're doing it until I go into the information. So I can see everyone's shoulders, so that's perfect. Okay. All right. So we're going to quickly play Simon Says. Okay. So I want you to just listen carefully as I go through it. Okay. Simon says, touch your chin. Simon says, touch your ears. Simon says, touch your head. Simon says, touch your nose. Touch your eyes. Did Simon say touch your eyes? Well done. That's awesome. Well done. Okay, so I just want you to just think about it and just think about how you had to think through that. And that it's actually a mindful game, and we've never actually looked at it that way. And you had to pay attention and you had to be aware of your body and what I was saying. Okay. I asked everyone to do a little bit of homework for me just to observe children around them. And it didn't have to be a negative thing, it could also be positive. But I just wanted to ask if you have any feedback for me on anything that you've just observed that you thought was interesting about children and mindfulness. You can put it in the comments or you can turn your mic on and tell us. I think we're small, so we can chat about it.
I'm happy. Oh, sorry, Ashley.
So uh, I had a friend come over with her two little kids, like 2 years old and 3.5, and they were all over the place. They're like wild animals, and their dirty feet were on like my light ottoman and my light couch, and so it was very hard to be um, mindful. But I guess I was like, okay, these are not my children. I'm not going to shout at them. Yeah, so it was very difficult. So when I saw your theme for this, I was like, brilliant. I'm so looking forward to what you have to say. And it was hard.
So yeah, I've got a niece, and she's got ADHD, and she suffers from severe anxiety. So I've noticed that, even young children, like 9, 10, 11, suffer from anxiety. And it kind of seems to be related to, I mean, I watched this interview with Trevor Noah, and he was saying his depression was related to ADHD. So I'm just kind of like pondering, and I've realized that mindfulness, to get her to sit still, is not going to work. So we played this game where I said, try and find as many red things outside as you can and make a list. So I think that's sort of the extent of, and then trying to help her just to breathe and regulate her nervous system. So yeah, you got kids that are just, they don't care and they're fancy free. And then you've got like kids with almost inherent anxiety, which I find quite interesting.
Kelsey, thank you for the theme. I tried to be extra nice to my kids this week. Uh, so I think I was good at it, and then I forget about it as things get bigger, a bit as things get busy, I forget about it. But I just took time to spend like half an hour every afternoon with them, half an hour to 1 hour every afternoon, just sitting with them. And then they're so much more kind of regulated after that. Yeah, so thank you for that reminder.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, thank you everyone for sharing. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to share my slideshow with you. Okay. Okay, so just quickly before we start, tonight you are going to be speech language pathologists and audiologists as we go through and thinking about children and children that we might see come through our doors. So I'm just looking at using mindfulness with children and how it can impact speech language development. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with a little question. Okay, so do you think we need to teach children mindfulness? You would think that maybe it's something that comes naturally to them, and we could maybe learn from them. But from working in speech therapy and within my practice, I've noticed that as adults who are maybe dysregulated, sometimes we can change a child's behavior just so that kind of we can keep them busy or they're emotional, and then maybe, okay, here's a cell phone, calm yourself down kind of thing. And are we teaching them then to be mindful, or are we just distracting them from what they are feeling? So I'm just highlighting these little points, not as a judgment, but just as a maybe just something to think about as a consideration. So I look at the families that I work with, and a lot of people, we live a fast-paced lifestyle. Both parents often need to work. So maybe in the olden days, a mom used to be at home and then you used to go home, you used to eat lunch, do your homework. And I've noticed a lot of my therapy kids now sit at aftercare until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I've wondered, is that maybe a trend? Is that maybe why they need to be in speech language therapy? Is that maybe why they need the extra assistance? Also, screen time, we use that as a pacifier very often. Even as an adult, I'll be like, I've had a bad day, let me just go and watch a romantic movie. And I've noticed when you sit in a restaurant, you give a child a phone, and again, it's not a judgment toward parents, but it's just an observation. And how do we think, how does it impact our child's development? Whereas before, if there wasn't a phone, they'd be listening to your conversation and they would be thinking, okay, this person's talking about that person and they feel this about that, and they'd be getting the scoop. That was my favorite thing to do, to listen to everyone's conversation and know what's going on. So just little things to think about. We also have broken and blended families, which is also not a judgment, but just an acknowledgement of how we guide children through that emotional process. Because I've had on numerous occasions, it's my first assessment session with a kid, and the first thing they'll say to me is, my mom and dad are divorced. And it's like, okay, so now I've got to think now. I don't know you, I don't know your parents, and I've got to kind of chat through this with you and be like, okay, and acknowledge it. And then, so it just shows that it is something that plays on their hearts. Also, we have children with learning difficulties, and you think about classrooms and the huge sizes, and like children with ADHD, like you were saying, Mark, like how do they regulate themselves, and what do teachers do, what do therapists do, and what do parents do? And as a speech therapist, it's our job to advocate for our kiddies that we work with. So we've got to train our parents, we've got to train our teachers on how to help the kiddies as best possible. And I think mindfulness is something that is completely overlooked. We all look at the scientific ways of how and how to fix this problem, but we don't look at the mindfulness aspect of it. We can also have like eating disorders, and speech therapists do work quite closely with like swallowing and fussy eaters and things like that. But also parents, I mean, I myself also grew up with, you did really well at school, let's go and have a milkshake, or you had a bad day and let's go eat a waffle kind of thing. And is it a reward? Is that the right thing to do? So little things like that, that again is not a judgment, but is it right? Just considerations that we need to discuss with our parents. And a lot of children have anxiety, they can have depression, and there's also bullying that we need to contend with, sorry. So just little things that we need to think about. And as adults, are we training or equipping our children to cope and be adults who can cope with mindfulness techniques, or are we redirecting them in the wrong direction? And something that might come more naturally to them, are we redirecting that in the wrong way? Okay, just some considerations. Okay, so then we might then think, okay, so we need to do mindfulness, but at what age do we start? So it's actually at any age, as long as it's age appropriate and fun and it makes sense. I mean, I spoke to my mom about this as well, and I told her about my presentation, and she said, when I was melting down when I was a baby, and she didn't know what to do with me, and she was freaking out, and she would take me outside and we would walk around and look at the leaves and the birds and things, and she loves birds, so we would focus on birds and she would talk about them, and my first word was birdie. So then that just proves that speech and language development, how mindfulness can actually improve vocabulary. I know it's like it's myself, but still it shows that it definitely has an impact. So the most important thing is just to know age appropriateness, and it must be fun. And it's easy to incorporate it into your everyday life. That doesn't have to be extra work. So my mom just took me for a walk, but you can also do it like when you're cooking, and you can have your kids sitting at the table with you, and you can say, okay, I'm going to chop the carrots now. Feel the carrot. What do you think the carrot feels like? And discuss that. Or what color is the carrot? And then carry on. That's like just one moment. You've expanded vocabulary, and you've spoken about the color, the feeling. Maybe you can get the child to taste a raw carrot, and then once you've cooked it, which is better, the raw carrot or the cooked carrot kind of thing. And so just that discussing it, and just, I don't know, bringing the family into it and spending time is just so, so important. Okay. So we did a mindful game in the beginning. So I just wanted to do this as a little reminder that a lot of games that we play are actual mindful activities as well. And we can incorporate these into therapy sessions. Parents can incorporate this. We can guide them and say they're silly little games, even in the car. I Spy with My Little Eye on your way to school is a mindful activity, you're engaging with one another. So like Simon says, the child has to pay attention and follow an instruction. They have to be focused. You can play a game like red light, green light, where they have to be aware of their body and, oh, we've got to move our body or we stay, kind of thing. Hide and seek, if you think about hide and seek, actually, you're incorporating all your senses. You've got to listen, you've got to see, you've got to try to find the person that you're counting, So it's all these things that you're incorporating. And then board games incorporates reasoning skills. You've got to be strategic to try and win. So that's also really good. And then again, nature walks are so nice to do. expands color, objects, reasoning. Why do you think? One of my assessments, there's a question that says, what makes clouds move? So many kids don't know, because you could be outside and you could just say, look at the clouds and look, they're moving, the wind is blowing, like you're describing things like that, but people don't do that anymore. And again, it's not a judgment, it's just the time. Parents don't have the time, but if you chat to them, counsel them about it, maybe they'll be more aware of it, because I think they forget. Because as I was going through this as well, I was like, whoa, these games are actually mindful games that I don't even really incorporate that much within a therapy session, which is also really important. Because we focus so much on being paper-based because school is so paper-based. So we set all our goals on, okay, we need to be able to follow two-step instruction. So here's a worksheet on color this red and color that purple, or draw a square around this and a circle around that. But then you could turn it into a mindfulness activity as well, where you could say, okay, now you need to go and find this and find that. And then it's a little bit of that hide and seek incorporated within it as well. Okay. So how does mindfulness link to speech and language development? So I've touched a little bit on it, but it forms the foundation of our communication skills, actually, if we think about it, because it improves our cognition and it improves our emotional skills and our emotional regulation. And those things are so important because that's how we communicate. We learn how to communicate our emotions. We learn how to read other people's emotions, and this is all through mindfulness activities. So if we look, mindfulness practice can improve your attention and your focus. So there have been studies that have shown that children with ADHD, if they practice mindfulness, it can help them with their symptoms. So it doesn't cure the ADHD itself, but it just helps control those symptoms. And then you get better task completion so that you can actually finish a task at the end of the day. So you kind of teach a child, oops, catch yourself, I'm losing focus, or I'm running away, my brain is running away. So then I can use this technique and I can stop, breathe, and then I can finish the task that I'm busy with. It also helps with memory skills, which is really important for retaining information within the classroom. And then also just some self-awareness, which I spoke about, being able to catch yourself in the moment. And then it also helps with theory of mind, being observant of what others may feel and what your actions are on others. And then that also helps with emotional regulation as well, and you can express yourself better. Okay. So if we think about a therapy session, just a few things. So what would happen to a child's brain when you reprimand them? Because sometimes it just happens. You are in a bad mood, your kid's in a bad mood within the therapy session, and they have a little bit of a wobble, or they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and then you reprimand them. So now you've reprimanded them. What happens then to your therapy session? Are you able to bring them back and carry on? Are they able to learn what you are trying to teach them? Do they remember the information? So when you reprimand a child, you actually trigger their fright response, and they release stress hormones. So that then impacts memory and learning skills. So you're actually doing a disservice to your therapy child within your therapy session when you kind of lose your cool. And it happens, we're human. But so as therapists, we need to practice our mindfulness, and so we need to have a different approach. So we can either take them for a walk, take them for a sip of water, just regulate yourself in that way. So you're regulating the child, but you're actually regulating yourself, and then come back to the activity. And then I just made a note of how does your session go when you self-regulate it? So you also, dysregulate it. So what do you do to regulate yourself? And how you need to know when to stop, kind of thing. So you kind of reach a point where you know, do you take the afternoon off, or is just taking a walk going to help, kind of thing? Or do you need to take a week off? So you also need to be very aware of what you're doing, because it impacts your therapy kids so greatly. Okay, so now we've got some mindfulness activities to do within your therapy session. So just a few ideas. So you can do something like mindful belly breathing or counting your breaths, which is a nice one. You can do a sound scavenger hunt, which I thought was quite fun. So you can choose a theme, which is really good. Everyone in speech therapy is very theme-based. So you pick a theme and you say it's farm animals, and you can hide the farm animals around the room, and you can play a sound or you can make the sound, and they've got to find the animal. So, and then they bring them back to you, and then you can talk about the animal. Then you're expanding on language again and on sentence structure, and you can get them to tell you in a full sentence what the cow does and what the cow makes, and we get milk from a cow and all of those things. You can do mindful movements like yoga poses or sensory play. Sensory play is really nice. I really like to incorporate kinetic sand into it. There's really nice shapes, and you can talk about what you're doing. I've got a little castle, and then we can say, okay, imagine if you lived in a castle, and then that goes on, it overlaps with storytelling. So then you can, let's pretend that you're the queen of this castle that we've just made, and we focus and we talk about how we live, who lives in the castle with us, and how big the castle is, and what it looks like on the inside. So really, it doesn't take extra time, because you accomplish all your therapy goals, and it's a mindfulness activity. Mindful speech. So this is a good one for students who stutter. So this has been very helpful for me when I was doing this research, because we always tell children who stutter to just speak slower, be calm, prolong your first speech sound, make it longer, drag it out. But actually, if you think about it, a child really, can they visualize this? So that's why then you can meditate, you can visualize your tongue. Because I always used to think, I used to be like, how do I tell a kid? So then I used to tell them, I used to make up a little story that there's a little lizard on their tongue and you can't squash it. You've got it's just sitting there, and you've just got to touch the top of your mouth very gently. But actually, that is a form of imagery. So now I've got two kitties who stutter, and I've started, like, we close our eyes, we imagine the little teddy bear on our tongue, or the little lizard, or whatever it is, and it just touches softly on the roof of your mouth. We can't squash it. And then it sits on your lip, and then your lips close gently and they don't squash. So you've got to remember that he's there, otherwise he won't be able to breathe. So that really, really helps. Then at least they've got a goal that they're working towards. We are not going to squash the lizard, and that has really, really helped in therapy sessions. You can also do guided imagery. There's a lot on, if you look up meditation for children, there's a lot of meditations actually that you can find, and really nice ones. Like, I found a really nice one where you had to imagine you are a starfish, and then you can imagine what color you are, and you can imagine the water and the sun going over you. So there are some really, really nice child-friendly meditations that you can do, and it can take 2 minutes just to run through, just a quick imagine what you are. So just a reminder that you must just adapt everything, make it interesting to your child, age appropriate, and consider their abilities as you go through it. Because you can't make a 3-year-old meditate, but you could make a 3-year-old go on a little scavenger hunt for an animal or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So I just want you to imagine the difference that you can make in your therapy children's lives if you bring mindfulness into your therapy sessions, and also into the families that you work with. Make your families aware of the techniques, and just like the possibilities are endless if you think about it. And it can really, really improve speech and language skills. Okay, so I've just got a meditation that I also wanted to do with you just in closing. It's also another special one that was close to my heart because my dad used to do it with me and I didn't even realize. So he used to lie on the grass with me and look at the clouds, and then we had to imagine what the shapes are. So we're going to sit for this one, but we're going to imagine that we're lying down. Okay, so I just want you to get comfortable. Okay, and then you're welcome to close your eyes or just focus on a spot in front of you. And we're just going to take a slow, deep breath in and a slow breath out. And a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you are in a garden, and it's a garden that you've created by yourself on your own. Whatever you want in your garden is there. The grass is very green and lush. Maybe you've got a tree in your garden. Maybe you have a fence around you that is protecting you, keeping you zoned in your garden. And you can feel the grass tickling your toes and tickling your fingertips. And you're just lying on the grass, breathing. Then you feel a slight breeze going over your face. That's a nice cool breeze. And you can feel the sun. It's nice and warm. And as the breeze is blowing, you see a fluffy cloud moving overhead. The white fluffy cloud is against a brilliant blue sky, and the cloud is forming a shape. Any shape that you want. Might be a toy that you want. Might be a pet or an animal that you love. Might be a person. And then the breeze comes again and blows the cloud gently away. And then another cloud slowly comes above your head. And this cloud forms a new shape. And it forms the shape of something that is maybe your favorite thing, maybe something you like to eat, maybe something you like to do. And then it slowly blows away. I want you to bring yourself back onto the grass. You feel the grass tickling your toes and your fingers. Maybe you can hear the birds in the tree. And you move back from the grass into your seat. Feel the chair, feel your bum on the chair. Take a deep breath in. Slowly out as you come back into the room. And you can open your eyes when you are ready. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. That is
Sorry, I felt like I spoke very quickly. I tried to be mindful of speaking slower.
okay. No, all good. It was just stunning, and I was smiling the whole way through. I just couldn't stop smiling. I was like, wow, what a gem, what a gem, what a gem. So I'm going to go last. Please, ladies, jump in and offer some words of how you feel about Kelsey's teach back.
Sure, I'll go first. Thank you, Kelsey. I think that your topic is so needed. I mean, I have two young kids and I see the same things that you've pointed out. And I think it just comes down to exactly what you're saying, just taking a step back, going back to like those simple, mindful tasks that were so naturally done before, and yet we forget about them in this busy rat race that we're all in. So thank you for it. I think it's definitely something that's really valuable, and I think that it's something that you really, yeah, I think your colleagues would appreciate as well, because I don't think I mean, we're aware of it, but I don't think a lot of people out there are, so yeah, really, really enjoyed it. I took some notes down on the games that you that you recommended just for my own use. My eldest son actually does speech therapy as well.
Okay.
He had grommets like 4 times, and I guess yeah, we just didn't ever. I think first child didn't know. My second child's the complete opposite. She speaks. My 4-year-old speaks clearer than my 8-year-old at this stage. But yeah, I mean, like really, those games that you've suggested. I mean, it's learning, but in a very playful manner. So I think it's so valuable, even this presentation to be presented to the parents, if you tweak it a little bit, because a lot of the parents don't think of that. They don't even think that something so simple can make such a significant impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wonderful, Nisha. Thanks. So agree with you. Ursula?
Kelsey, that was so interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's just it was so clever. Like yeah, just things I hadn't thought about, and then I was thinking of I played in the garden with my friends' children, and I was hiding things for them, and that was also just such a mindful game. So it was it's very very clever, and I kept on thinking your kiddies are so lucky that they get to work with you. Yeah, they very fortunate to have you as their speech therapist.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, and I think what I also found so interesting in what you were saying was how if we regulate ourselves, it has an effect on our children. And it's something I experienced firsthand in a couples therapy session today. The couple had their few-month-old baby in the session, and then the couple started getting heated. So I did a quick relaxation with them, and the next thing, the baby was sleeping, and the baby was really restless before. So it's, mom was calmer, mom was holding baby, and all of a sudden, things just calmed down. So it's I'm so glad you mentioned that because it really got me thinking about, you know, what's happening inside of us and what are we transmitting to the people around us. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, thought it was super interesting, and I think it was also a very academic presentation, and it had a lot of information, which I think would be really ideal for speech therapists. And I think it's really something that you should do for your colleagues, and possibly even get it CPD accredited. Yeah, it's like really valuable. And then also you have quite or at least I perceive it as like quite a strong voice, and I felt very held and like comforted in the space.
Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was really lovely. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I forgot when everyone was sharing their thoughts about the children through the week, I wanted to share what happened today. And I was so nervous about everything that I forgot. But I gave 2 hearts away. I told you about the first crocheted heart that I gave. And I gave the second one do a little instruction and things like that with her and WH questions and all of that. And she was wearing her heart today for our session. So I just wanted to see what if she remembered. So I said to her, what is that? And she said, it's my heart. She said, Teacher Kelsey gave me my heart. and and then I said, okay, and what does your heart mean? And she said, it means I'm special. and and I'm loved. And I was like, whoa. So just that little mindfulness act within my theory, like I was like, whoa. So it really has a huge, huge impact on our kiddies. So it's just, yeah, it's really important. And if we could pass that on to parents, it would make such a huge difference.
Yes, Kelsey, I think definitely. Something as Ursula was speaking, I really enjoyed that end visualization. It brought me back to my kind of childhood memories and just kind of emphasize that and how simple like this whole process can be, do you know, for me. Um, and also something that when Ursula said it triggered my memory is that you asked that question of how is it worth teaching our kids mindfulness? Yes, they have to learn it, but we teach it via demonstrating it, right? That's how, and that's what it is. It comes down to the parent in a lot of these cases. So, yeah, thank you. It reminded me as well.
Thank you so much, ladies. Okay. Kelsey, in the beginning, I really enjoyed the use of the WhatsApp group to get us to do a little bit of prep. So that was very skillful. So well done for, setting the tone. And it also nice to, because it's a teaser, you sort of pique our interest, and then we really do want to be here rather than watch Netflix. So yeah, it was really, really great. I was thinking, who is your audience? Because you didn't like say it, but then you did. So that was nice. I think the audience was, I think the audience,
I remembered last minute, sorry.
yeah, it took a while because as you put your slides up, I was like, oh, okay, there it is. So, better than late than never. Um, the grounding exercise in the beginning was good breathing. The pace was good. Um, you look great. Yeah, your lighting's awesome. Um, it's your usual sort of background, but it works, right? It works well. And the audio is good, the connection's good. So that was all, first class. Um, slowly opening our eyes after the practice was very nice. It wasn't jarring, it was soft. I felt I felt calm. I felt good. I loved the Simon Says thing. That was an icebreaker, and a little bit of humor got us all to laugh. A bit of gamifying, you can't go wrong. And it just sort of feeds into your thread and your theme of using games. And there you go, you did, and you piqued our interest even more. Um, yeah, the getting us to check in was excellent. Nice that we could all just unmute the group small enough. I wish I could do that myself, but sure, my groups get so large, and it's just like on the chat. So at least you could do that tonight. I loved your slides. I enjoyed the way that you didn't put your slides up and you were talking, and then you did the practice, and then you popped the slides up. So that was nice. I thought that was really pro. I often do that. I sort of speak without the slides, then I put them up, and then I take them down again, and so it creates almost like this motion and movement that keeps people interested. Because if it's just like PowerPoint the whole time, you're just talking, that can get quite boring. So there was like quite a bit of that sort of thing going on, and it's a good tactic. Um, Do we need to teach children mindfulness? What a great question. And obviously, this is a huge problem, the way parents distract their children. It is a big, big, big disaster in our society. I did it. We all did it. If you're a parent, you did it, right? So, but is it right? I like you brought in a lot of your childhood, your personal, you listening to mom and dad and their conversations. You really took us to when you were a little girl, and it was so sweet. Like, I just had this image of cute little Kelsey running around, and like, this is how you grew up, and it was really sweet. Yeah, it's interesting. I see that Australia, I saw in the news today, they are definitely getting a rule over the line to stop children from looking at social media. So it's banned until you're 16. And I really think they're going to pioneer or sort of lead the way in our approach to social media. But I'm afraid for a lot of kids it's too late. But I think it's coming. I think South Africa will. I think generally, the world will start to adopt more stricter measures. And the reason is suicide rates for children have gone through the roof in Australia, and that's why they're doing it. So there's a huge link between social media, tech, and suicide, child suicides. It's really bad. So as we can see, it's a serious problem. I felt quite sad when you said the first thing that a little one says is that my mom and dad are divorced. Broke my heart. And then
Yeah, it happens quite often. Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, it's a trend. It just shows you how, because I'm a stranger to them.
No,
Yeah.
it shows the impact that parents don't often think, right? They just go ahead and get divorced, but they don't understand the impact that it has on their children. So yeah, that was hard to hear for me personally. And that mindfulness is completely overlooked. It really is, isn't it? It really is. It totally is. And I think a person like you is pioneering your field in this. So you're a groundbreaker, you're a world shaker, you're an innovator in this situation. You speak so well and so confident. I agree with the ladies. You came across as if you had done this 1,000 times. You had absolutely no hiccups, no problems. Really great points, focusing on the challenges we face with our kids. Being a father, I can definitely say you spot on. At what age should we start teaching mindfulness? Then again, your personal story of your mom and the birds. Wow, brilliant, What a wonderful example of a personal story to prove that worked. And, your first word was birds, or was it birds? Okay.
Birdie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son's first word was hardy dog. Because they're so freaking loud. So yeah, I think he got a fright every time the hardy dog went. I love, for me the highlights was like, and this is really the pith part of your presentation is, I'm going to chop carrots now. Come, do you want to look? Do you want to smell? Is there a difference in taste? Like, wow. You don't really have to be formal about it. And it just like hit me like between the eyes, that I'm not doing enough of that with my son. And, because you have this idea of formal mindfulness, and you got to break that mold. And even I am stereotyped into that, because I lived in a temple for 3 years, and there was meditation time where you sit in the lotus and that's it, but then to take it off the mat and into daily life is essential, and that is so beautiful, because it's not like you have to make extra time to do that. Now I play tennis with my son, and I'll tell him to look at the clouds, just stop for a moment, look how beautiful it is. Have you noticed the trees? So I try, I try to do that. I think it's really good. The mindful games, the lists that you gave us were really great games. And then taking everyday games and then adding a twist and adding a mindfulness activity, I think it's great. How mindfulness can improve our attention, focus, cognitive skills, all that list as well was excellent. I love the thing about the kids asking what makes clouds move, and then you had this theme of clouds sort of coming through as well, introducing it, and there were clouds. What happens to a child brain when we reprimand them? Very good. Triggering stress hormones, affecting their memory and learning, absolutely 100%. Amygdala hijack. As Nisha was saying, brilliant angle of how we have to regulate ourselves in order to regulate our kids, and we can do it simultaneously. Mindfulness activities in your sessions to your colleagues, excellent suggestions. I think for me, one of the grudges or the what can I say, the problems that I have in the corporate space, or even in the scholastic space, is a lot of red tape. I'll tell you why. You gave a lot of imagery examples and visualization and so on. Now, I think that's extremely powerful for children to use their imagination. But sadly, in the scholastic sense, when we go through and we get a degree, or we go through the University of Stellenbosch, they discredit that. They kind of don't take into account that imagination and visualization is a mindfulness practice, believe it or not. I totally disagree. And it just, there are just different schools of mindfulness. The program that I taught you includes visualization and imagination. And if you look at the mindfulness definition, mindfulness can be cultivated by paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment with non-judgment, open-heartedness, and non-reactivity. So you could be visualizing something, you're paying attention in a particular way on purpose and in the present moment. In a particular way is your visualization, right? So, and you can use non-judgment, non-reactivity, and open-heartedness with that practice too. For example, the majority of my meditations are visual from the Tibetan tradition, which is an esoteric form of meditation, but it's still mindfulness because I'm sitting down, I'm making a conscious effort to train my mind and my brain, and not for it to be multitasking or think a million things. I'm very, very disciplined. I keep my mind wanders, I bring it back. I'm then practicing the mechanics of mindfulness as well, because my mind wanders, then I bring it back to my mantra and my visualization. There it is. I think the problem is that visualization and imagination has this connotation of being woo-woo. So academics tend to run from that sort of thing. But when you're dealing with children, it's perfect. So why should it not be the same for adults? I ask you, please, with tears in my eyes, But I do believe it's an immature understanding of mindfulness. And as time goes on, the academics will mature and they will progress into more advanced understanding of this topic, because it's still very fresh in the Western world. The Buddhists have been doing it for centuries, and that's my training for many, many years, for 20 years, right? Understanding the full scope and the full range of meditation and mindfulness. So I think they'll catch up. And I'm not sounding arrogant. I just follow the definitions and I follow my logic. And I must say I do get condemned sometimes because of it, because I do encourage fantastical meditations. Have fun with your meditations. Enjoy them. If you have a visual propensity, for example, there's two different types of minds. And sorry, I'm going on a bit here, but I think it's on point. For example, I gave a mindfulness practice of washing the dishes. And I was talking to a group of people, and I said, when you wash the dishes, you can imagine that you are cleaning the dirt or the grime that's in your family, and you purifying any problems that are going on in your household, as you're washing dishes. And my one student said, that doesn't work for me. I just really enjoy the feeling of the warm water and my hands in the water and looking at the soap suds and seeing the rainbows in the soap, And I was like, okay. So for some people, imagination, visualization don't work. And for other people, it's more tactile, it's more sensory. Yeah. So the scholastic mindfulness approach is breath work, breath meditation, using your senses, meditating on the senses, and then obviously body awareness. Then metta bhavana, which Leon spoke about, loving kindness meditations. That's like on the fringe, It's like on the fringe, but it's still acceptable with the scholastic mindfulness people. And it's like, come on, guys. And then more advanced sort of visualizations they don't incorporate. So I guess they'll catch up. I think this is totally on point. In Buddhism, the scholastic school that the Westerners follow is actually a school called the Hinayana school, which means the lesser vehicle or the lower vehicle. It's a bit of a derogatory statement, but that's what they say it is, Then you get the Mahayana vehicle and the esoteric Vajrayana vehicle. So there's different vehicles of meditation and mindfulness, which have been around for centuries, right? Western mindfulness really only just started in the 80s, whereas Asian mindfulness has been going for thousands of years and very refined. So anyway, I think, look, the Western guys have done a great job. John Kabat-Zinn's done a great job. And I'm sure if you talk to John Kabat-Zinn, he would completely agree that a visualization or it's just what people do with it, right? And they solidify it, they put red tape around it, and then it becomes, stuck. But I think John would never, agree to where it is today. Okay, now I've stopped with moaning and groaning and being a grumpy old fart. Let's see.
But Mark, if I can ask, why was that an issue? Is there a series of cases, or what created that kind of segregation?
It's just,
because for some people, body awareness might not work, or for some people, breath might not work. Each to their own.
Just an organization that call themselves followers of John Kabat-Zinn. The organization is very popular, and they say that doesn't fall under the mindfulness banner. It doesn't make them authorities on it. So I guess this organization would be my competition in this country. Yeah. And I can tell you now, they haven't been able to make corporate work at all, whereas we have. They come into corporate and they run a 20-minute body scan. What are you thinking? It's never going to work. What Kelsey did, playing little games, keep it entertaining, keep it light, little practice here, little practice there. That's going to work for people. But you can't start where people don't know what mindfulness is with a 20-minute body scan. You know what I'm saying? You got to be skillful. You got to put yourself in the mind of an executive that's never heard of mindfulness, never heard of it, never practiced it, and then introduce it in a fun and accessible way. And then maybe they will do 20-minute body scan a year from, I've seen lots of people start cynical and small and interested, and then become full-fledged meditators and mindfulness practitioners and done the teacher training. In fact, even the head of First Rand Wellness, Megan Gray, head of APSA, these people have all attended my programs. They were converted, they were changed, amazingly. So, yeah, Nisha, it's strange. It reminds you of the story with the monkeys, where all the monkeys are in a room and the one monkey climbs up the ladder to get a banana, and then they spray all the other monkeys with cold water. And then every time a monkey tries to get the banana, they fight each other. So they don't allow the monkey to get the banana. Then they replace all the monkeys, but the tradition still stays, right? And every time a monkey climbs up the ladder, they beat up that monkey, and then they don't know why they're doing it. So it's kind of that mindset, actually. So anyway, but it's something to be aware of, guys. That's why I'm telling you. It's something to be aware of. I like creativity. I like the fact that you can make up your own practices, that you don't have to cut and paste somebody else's practices, that you can get creative because you know the definition of mindfulness and you know what you can work with. All right. If we start going into wild astral traveling off to planets, I don't know, then it can get kind of weird and wonderful. But you know the container, and you know in a way that this, even though it's secular, it can have a very deep and spiritual meaning to people. One thing that I was missing, and not a biggie, but the definition of mindfulness. It wasn't in any of your slides. It wasn't in your presentation. I would pop it in because you're talking to people that have never heard of it. So you might want to start with it or put it in somewhere. I love the thing with the lizard on the tongue, and the stutter. And I mean, it's just so cute, mind-blowing, actually. And I agree with Ursula, and your patients are so lucky to have you, really, very fortunate. I doubt whether too many of your colleagues would bring such a flavor into the therapy sessions. What a blessing.
Thank you.
Also, again, going back to the little girl of Kelsey lying on the back on the grass with her dad looking at the clouds, I mean, your mom and dad sound awesome.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I was thinking back at this and I was like, wow, they did a pretty good job.
They did.
Yeah, because my dad used to, as well, every Friday he used to pick me up from school and he used to do like teddy bear picnics. But I would get home and the blanket would be out and the teddy bears would all be out, and that's where we would have lunch. I was like, wow. Yeah,
What a wonderful thing.
yeah.
Beautiful. Well, it shows in the person that you are, Kelsey. You're a quality person.
Thank you.
So the practice was great. Nice instruction on the eyes. Don't have to close them. You can just lower them. Little bit of a moan. Twice you said, I want you to. Just take that out of your vocabulary.
Sorry.
Doesn't belong. Don't need it. Throw it away. Okay? I invite you to, if you need to say something like that, I invite you. I want you to. It's a bit jarring.
I've made a note about this, but it's such a habit.
No, everybody just falls to the default, and it's because of nerves. I know. But just,
I wonder actually how many times I say it in my therapy sessions as well. I want you to do this. Let's do this.
yeah, I mean, even my colleagues, I look at their sessions and they're doing it all the time. My one colleague says it all the time, and I cringe because that's all I hear, and it's a bit much because it really is repetitive. It's a very repetitive thing, and it's like a crutch. And I know we do it when we're nervous and we're grasping for some familiarity. We don't need it. I love the imagination of the garden, the feeling the grass, the details of the slight breeze and the sun, the clouds forming a shape. Yeah, I mean, the whole practice was beautiful. Really went on a journey. You could have gone on for a bit longer, I think. I was really, really into it. I felt it was a bit short. I think it could have been longer. And then all of a sudden the practice ended, and that was that. And I thought, is it over? What's going on? So Kelsey, you've got to finish a little bit stronger, friend.
Okay.
You've got to wrap it up well. You've got to say, okay, well, here's some of my resources, maybe a couple of, reading, if you want to read more, here's some home practice, give us a solidified, okay, now go off and do this sort of thing, and just sort of end it like curtain closing ending, because I think I was just left wondering, is it over? Is there more? I felt a bit uncomfortable because I wasn't sure what to do. Do I say thank you, or is there still more? I wasn't sure. And a lot of people that do the teach back on Monday night, exactly the same thing. I was like, not sure if it was over or if you still had more to say. It happens a lot. Just ended well. Overall, it was a fantastic teach back. It was a brilliant teach back, great topic, excellent for your audience. It's just a couple of tweaks and tunes now that you have to do. Take it to heart, and it'll be wonderful. Be really wonderful.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah. I was thinking, so do you have plans to do this to an audiologist group, a meeting group or something?
Not at the moment. I'm very isolated. I work at a school, so I thought maybe I could do it to the teachers. I'm doing a presentation for the teachers on what a speech therapist is on Saturday. So I thought maybe I've got my foot in the door now. I'll ask them if I could do this topic as my next one, just to the teachers. I think we need to educate parents. So if I could educate the teachers on what to tell parents and how to incorporate that into everyday life, I think it would really make a big difference. I'm just not sure where to start in terms of contacting therapists and getting it across to colleagues.
Yeah. But look, I know I ran a talk with Laura, and all of a sudden I had 4 audiologists book the teacher training from that talk, right? So I'm really keen to do more of that. And if somehow we can co-run a session on one of these platforms, whether it's Zoom or whatever, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Or you do it yourself and you just say, hey, Mark's here, there he is, that would be awesome. Because it would really, really, more audiologists could maybe, get involved and do the training.
Yeah, it would be nice. And if we could get it CPD accredited, and it would be awesome.
And I think, maybe the same thing with psychologists. Ursula, if there is a platform, somehow we can get on there and maybe push a little bit into there. I think it's a good avenue. What I want to do, and I'm quite serious about this. I've done it before, but then I just let it go. But my intention is to grow the teacher training. It just keeps going. It's been going since 2016. I've thought many times about ending it, but every intake I got people asking to join. I hardly advertise it. It just keeps going. I want to really advertise it. I want to now grow it into a bigger product. So what I want to do is maybe in the new year, and all 3 of you did fantastic teach backs. And now to make it perfect, because I've given you feedback on each one of them. You don't have to answer me now, but I would really love to advertise you on social media. Put together a flyer, say we're going to have a Zoom evening for an hour. Join us. People got to register. We just do it like no charge, just to get you out there, just to people can see you. Obviously, there's a leaning for people to join the teacher training, but I think it would be just really nice because your themes are so different and diverse, and I think we could start really strong if you guys are keen. So I'm not going to ask like now if you're keen. I think maybe you can just send me a message if you are keen, and then we can sort of get the wheels rolling, and maybe you get a bigger audience. Maybe you get 200, 300 people coming to see your talk, and then we record it and we share it on social media, on the platforms. And then you can invite your family, your friends, and people can then see it, right? They can see what you've been doing, rather than it's just being us. So I think it could work nice. I'm not going to do everybody. I'm just going to do the ones that I think are great. And I think everybody here did a fantastic teach back, you know. I was also impressed with Leon's. I mean, Leon's was mind blowing, like really wow, you know, really like sort of had to sit with that. It was very different, but it was interesting. So yeah, so we can take it to another level, and then you can maybe people will contact you. Maybe they'll come to do your yoga. So maybe you'll get more therapy work. You know what I mean? Like there could be more spin-off for that. So anyway, Kelsey, it was really great, and thank you so much. And also, if we do this, then we obviously stay in touch and work on things together. You know. So that's if you
That
want.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks so much for the feedback. I appreciate it.
No, all good. Okay, well, ladies, that is it. Unless we hear from Elise, but I doubt she'll go, and Kirsty's busy. So yeah, it was a small group, but fun and lovely. I've still got another 3 weeks to go with the Monday group, but yeah, I'm kind of sad that this group is coming to an end. I really enjoyed you guys, and it's just, you know, every group I see, there's a thread, there's like a connection in a way, and then I realize that the groups that form are meant to be, and those people are meant to be in those groups. And I see it time and time again. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So anyway, all right, we'll call it that a night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kelsey and Misha. And it feels like we've come full circle because it was the four of us that started together. And
Yes.
yeah, I feel really privileged to have been part of this group and to learn from all of you. So thank you.
Thank you guys as well. Yeah, really enjoyed the sessions, and I'm gonna kind of miss it on the Thursday nights now.
Yeah, it's going to be sad. Thursdays are going
It
to be
was almost
boring.
grounding. It was a reminder that, oh, I'm actually in this, you know, like let's take it through the week.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, see, this is what I've got to try and do, is build communities and keep people together.
Mm.
Been very good at it, so I've got to up my game in terms of that, so we don't lose touch. You know. So any tips and tricks or advice that you guys can give me?
You must also have an awesome birthday tomorrow.
Yes, yes. Happy birthday
Yeah.
for tomorrow, Mark.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've got a fun day planned actually. I've got a lot of work in the morning, but then in the afternoon it's going to be great. So yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes. And
You just missed the Scorpio season, right? You're not a Scorpio, are you?
this is the
No.
problem. I don't actually know. So
Oh, you don't know. Because you're on the brink.
I want
Because I'm a Scorpio. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
cusp, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Scorpios are weird, man.
Thanks. Be quite intense.
Very much so. Yeah. Okay, ladies. Lots of love to you.
Thank you so much, Shay. Thank you for
Thank
the
you so
session.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.